Have you ever noticed how the world rushes to speak to you the second you wake up? Your phone vibrates, your mind jumps ahead, and before your feet hit the floor, you're already overwhelmed. Not because the world is cruel, but because you gave it access before you gave it order. Mornings aren't just about routine. They're about returning to yourself before the world tries to pull you apart. Because the way you start is the way you stand. Jake used to wake up to chaos, alarms, notifications, noise, and he'd wonder why by 10 a.m. he already felt behind. Then he tried something different. He started waking up earlier, not to grind, not to hustle, but to listen. Not to the news, not to the world, to himself. He didn't check messages. He checked his breathing. He didn't scroll. He stretched. He sat. He asked, "What am I about to give my energy to?" That one question started to shift everything. Because peace isn't found. It's built, daily, quietly. In the first 10 minutes you're awake, before anyone else can steal them. The Stoics taught, don't just react to the day, prepare for it. The morning is the battlefield where clarity wins over noise, and you don't win it by doing more. You win it by choosing less, but better. So the first habit isn't a checklist item, it's a mindset. Wake up for yourself, not for your phone, not for the world's demands, not for the chaos that's waiting. Because the most powerful person in the room is the one who's already centered before they even walk in. Most people reach for caffeine. The strong ones reach for clarity, not from a cup, but from a cup of water, from breath, from stillness before stimulation. You don't need to feel awake to start waking up. You need to re-enter your body before you start escaping it. Jake used to hit the coffee before he'd even opened his curtains, before he'd looked outside, before he'd said one real word to himself. He felt sharp for an hour, then scattered for the rest. Because when you start your day with artificial fuel, you build on a false fire. But when he started with water, his body responded. When he paused to breathe, his thoughts had space. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't glamorous. It was grounding. And that changed the tone of everything that came after. The Stoics weren't biohackers, but they understood cause and effect. Start your day with chaos, and you carry it. Start with calm, and you command it. So before the scroll, before the rush, before the world's noise enters, drink slowly, breathe deeply, and remind your nervous system, this body is not a battlefield, it's a base, and I protect it. No one will see that choice. No one will clap for it. But your body will. Your mind will. And slowly, you'll become someone who moves from a place of internal energy, not borrowed stimulation. Because that's what Stoicism really is. Not suppressing emotion, but mastering how it's built from the moment you open your eyes. You pick up your phone. You think it's harmless. Just 5 minutes. Just one scroll. And suddenly, your mind doesn't belong to you anymore. You're comparing. You're reacting. You're wondering why someone else looks more ready than you to face a day that hasn't even started yet. That's not connection. That's corrosion. Jake didn't see it at first. He'd scroll in bed, thumb half awake, mind still fogged. And somehow, he'd start the day feeling like he was already behind. But when he stopped, when he left the screen cold for the first 30 minutes, something clicked. His thoughts were quieter. His heart didn't race. His anxiety didn't own the morning. Because he did. The Stoics didn't have smartphones, but they understood something deeper. Guard the gates. Whatever enters first tells your mind what matters most. So if the first thing you absorb is someone else's voice, someone else's timeline, someone else's curated feed of wins. How can you expect to walk into your own life with clarity? Don't give your mind away before you've even opened it to yourself. Let silence come first. Let stillness reintroduce you to what matters. Don't check the world. Check in. Because when you stop handing over your attention, you start reclaiming your direction. And the most powerful move you can make in the first hour is to be unreachable by anything that doesn't serve who you're becoming. If this feels like something you've needed, not just to hear, but to hold, don't scroll past. Subscribe to Inner Fort. This isn't content. It's a structure you return to when everything else pulls you apart. Most people wait for motivation. They wait for big wins, for breakthroughs, for some external proof that they're ready to rise. But Stoicism teaches something different. Start small. Start daily. Start with what's yours. Jake didn't trust himself, not because he was lazy, but because he kept breaking promises to himself. Little ones no one saw. Wake up on time, clean the kitchen, don't snooze. They seemed small, but each time he skipped them, his mind whispered, "See, we don't finish what we start." So he chose one thing, just one, every morning. Make the bed, perfect corners, no excuses. It wasn't about cleanliness, it was about command. Because when you do something just because you said you would, you become the kind of person you believe. And that's how identity shifts. Not from hype, from habit, from stacking tiny invisible wins that slowly reshape how you see yourself. The world might never notice, but your nervous system will, your discipline will, your future will. So before chasing a perfect morning routine, try building just one act that trains your brain to trust your own word again. The strongest foundation isn't built in noise. It's built in repetition, in self-respect, in the little things done with quiet honor. You don't need a gym. You don't need a six-pack. You need to move. Not for the mirror, not for the world, but for the war going on inside your body before the day even begins. Jake never liked working out. It felt forced, mechanical. Another task on a list he didn't write. Until one morning, he just got up. No shoes, no music, no plan, just stretches, breath with movement, body weight squats, push-ups on cold floor. He wasn't chasing a physique. He was chasing his own energy back into his body. And it worked. Because your body holds things your mind's not ready to say. Stress, anger, pressure. They store in joints, in posture, in breath. But when you move, you release. You unlock. You remind your system, I'm not stuck. I'm still in motion. The Stoics walked often, not to lose weight, to think clearer, to digest both food and emotion. So don't wait for motivation. Move for regulation. Stretch until your muscles say, thank you. Push until your heart rate reminds you, you're still alive. The goal isn't to perform, it's to feel, to sweat out the fog before it becomes a storm. 5 minutes, that's all it takes. Not for transformation, but for activation. And some days, that small act is the difference between collapse and control. Move your body, because it's the house your discipline lives in. Discomfort. You've been taught to avoid it, to warm yourself, to stay cozy, to seek ease before effort. But what if discomfort, chosen, not forced, was actually your greatest teacher? Jake hated cold showers. He used to crank the heat just to feel something safe first thing in the morning. But safe wasn't saving him. It was softening him, dulling him, making him fragile to the smallest hits from life. So one morning, he turned the handle all the way to cold. He stood there, 10 seconds, then 20, then 30, breath shaking, heart pounding, mind screaming, "Why?" And then, silence. A stillness inside the shock. Not comfort. Control. Because when you can stay calm in chosen pain, you train yourself for the unchosen kind. Cold water is just a metaphor. So is running, lifting, anything that hurts now to make you harder to hurt later. The Stoics practiced voluntary hardship, fasting, cold, isolation, not to punish themselves, but to remember, I can do hard things, and I won't fall apart when comfort leaves. Because comfort will leave, people will leave, plans will break. And the only thing that stays is how prepared you were to stand still in chaos. Cold exposure isn't about toughness. It's about the conversation you have with your nervous system every time life punches first. Can you breathe through it? Can you slow your thoughts when everything screams? You don't have to do much. A minute in the cold, a run in the rain, a workout that stretches your will, not just your muscles. What matters is that you chose it, and you finished it. Because people who train their mind in chosen storms don't panic when the real ones come. There's a storm in your head before you even leave the house. Loose thoughts, unfinished worries, background noise from dreams, from yesterday, from what might go wrong today. And you carry it all in silence until it weighs you down. Jake didn't think writing could help. He wasn't a writer. He didn't like journaling. It felt slow, unproductive. But what was more unproductive than thinking the same anxious thought for the 10th day in a row? So one morning, he opened a blank page. He didn't plan, didn't edit. He just wrote, I don't know why I'm tired, but I am. I feel off, and I don't want to lose this day to nothing. That was it. That was the unlock. Because when you name the fog, you start to see through it. The Stoics journaled daily, not to reflect on life, but to shape it. They asked, what did I fear? What did I do well? What will I face today? And how will I face it? They didn't wait for the mind to organize itself. They led it, line by line. And you don't need prompts. You don't need pages. You just need truth. Write what's real. Write what itches your brain. Write what you'd never say out loud. Not for answers, for space. Because a page can hold things your chest shouldn't have to. And when you see your thoughts, outside of your head, on paper, in ink, they lose their power to spiral. So before the day speaks to you, you speak to it. With honesty. With no filter. With a pen that knows who you really are under all the armor. Right before the world rewrites you. Most people wake up into randomness, into noise, tasks, requests, without asking, where am I steering this? So they drift, from task to task, from scroll to scroll. And at the end of the day, they wonder, why do I feel so empty? Jake used to write long to-do lists, 15 items, all urgent, all heavy. He'd complete 3 and hate himself for the rest. Then he learned something simple. You don't need a long list. You need a sharp compass. Now he writes one thing. If I only accomplish this today, I'll respect how I used my time. Just one. And that shift turned pressure into clarity. The Stoics believed in intentional living, not packed schedules, not ambition for ambition's sake, but action with direction. Marcus Aurelius asked himself each morning, "What am I here to do today? What does my role require of me?" No fluff, no vanity, just purpose. You don't need 20 goals. You need one anchor, one move that reflects who you're building into. So before the world hijacks your time, decide what matters, not to everyone, to you. Is it a conversation you've been avoiding? A project you've been dancing around? A habit that recenters your focus? Write it, say it, make it real. Because people who move without intention become tools for someone else's plan. But people who wake with purpose, even if it's quiet, even if it's small, carry themselves like they're already home. Before the world tells you who to be, feed yourself with something that reminds you who you already are. Not news, not gossip, not another notification. Something true, something old, something that holds weight. Jake never liked reading in the morning. He felt rushed, felt like it was wasting time, like he should already be moving, building, chasing. But the more he rushed, the more he felt lost. And what he realized was this: you can't run your day with an empty mind. So he started small. 5 pages, 10 minutes. From books that carried silence, not noise. Stoicism. Philosophy. Words that didn't hype him. They centered him. Because when you read something timeless, your thoughts slow down, your priorities rise, and your energy stops reacting to whatever's loudest. The Stoics read to remember that they would die, that their anger was wasted, that virtue was the only real success. They didn't read to escape life. They read to engage it with clarity. So don't read to consume. Read to recalibrate. Pick a voice you trust more than your fears. A page that's older than your anxiety. A thought that steadies your pulse when everything wants to accelerate it. You don't need a whole chapter. You need a shift. Something that reframes the weight of the day before it lands on your shoulders. Because when you start your morning with wisdom, you carry it into conflict, into stress, into moments where old you would have snapped. Now, you pause. You remember. You respond. That's the difference between information and integration. Most affirmations feel fake. You say them, but nothing shifts, because they come from hope, not history. They don't sound like you. They sound like someone you wish you were. But the Stoics didn't repeat things to feel good. They repeated truths to become solid, rooted, calm inside chaos. Jake tried affirmations too. I'm strong. I'm successful. I'm enough. The people who try to shake your calm are the ones who never had their own. But here, you've found your ground. So stay, watch this next video, and keep rising silently. Inner Fort, subscribe, stay strong.